much for coming here today. Thank you to Ed for having me back. It was just great. I was walking through the hallways and remembering my time here, saying hi to some of my old teachers, Jen, Iku, Kane, just a whole bunch that I had when I was a student here, which feels like years and years and years ago. But I wanted, as Ed was saying, to start off talking a little bit about Fayerweather and how it shaped my experience and my understanding of what I could do in my life, what careers I could have, and what impact I could have. And I want to start with a story for those who have connections to kids in 3rd and 4th grade. You might have heard of design your own homework. And this was something that I was introduced to in 3rd grade. My dad was a little dubious when I brought design your own homework back, and it was literally do something that you want to do, come up with a report or a project or a presentation about it at the end of the week. And that was it. And I went home and decided to design my dream bedroom. But not only that, I was going to design it by scale. And so I created a whole foam core model. It was about this big, and brought it in and described every element. And there was a tree house element, and then one of those sort of slides that come down and glide down the floor, bean bags, everything. The next time we had it, we had it 2 times 3rd grade, 2 times 4th grade, I did an exploration of koalas and wrote a whole research booklet on koalas, and then made, which we still have in our basement, 3 life-size models of koalas. They're about that big, and a baby koala that got to be held in their mother's arms. And then in 4th grade, I was reading Anne Frank's diary, and so I decided I wanted to build a scale model of Anne Frank's hideout. So not only was I researching Anne Frank, but I created a model, and again, we have this still, about this big, of her entire hideout to scale, with lots of little decorations drawn from the book and my understanding of what the house looked like. And this was all done in a week, each of these projects. And what really hit home for us as students from that was that what we were interested in learning was important. That I was excited about Anne Frank because that's what I was reading, and that was something that I should go investigate and explore. And that our teachers were telling us that not only was it the subjects that they were teaching that we should be learning, but we should be following the passions that we had and the interests that we had, and exploring them in creative ways. So maybe it is creating a model, maybe it is creating a research paper. One of my friends decided to design a cake, and so created his own recipe and then brought in that cake with the recipe, and having done all the measurements and done experiments on different kinds of cake. And these were so much more than a normal assignment for a 1-week period, because we were that passionate about it. And I think it's that thread that really Fayerweather taught me over the years, again and again and again, that what we were interested in was really important and worth following. And they did that in a number of ways. They did that through storytelling and the importance of listening to lots of people's stories. Just as it was important to listen to the teacher's stories and the teacher's lessons, the students, our stories and our interests and our peers' interests were just as important. So we had Storytelling Month, which Ed tells me is slightly changed now that we bring in authors, but we read lots of different stories from lots of different ethnicities and made storytelling dolls. In the 6th grade, in the 5th and 6th grade, we did the Biographies Project, where we had to tell the story of someone else, a famous person, but it could be anyone. And we got to choose, but we had to really learn their story and be able to present that to other people. In 7th and 8th grade, we did, during the Holocaust unit, a resistor story. So we had to learn about a resistor in one of the countries in Europe and present their story and tell it in a theatrical form, presenting it to the rest of the class and to parents who came in. And again, it was this idea that we need to listen to all sorts of stories to gain a better understanding. And of those, that ours was incredibly important. And this led me on to high school, where, because I felt empowered that my story was important, in senior year of high school, we had the opportunity, and only a couple of students took it, to create a senior project. And so I decided to develop a whole curriculum in class that I designed and then ran through, looking at the stories of children in Israel and Palestine during the conflict, and trying to represent that in different ways through artist books, through children's books, through writings, through poetry. And again, it was the listening to the stories of other people, and it was the listening to what I really was interested in and wanted to do. And then in college, I was at Princeton, I went to in thinking biology, after my father was a geneticist. But then I went to a school my freshman year in Tanzania, and I was blown away by what they were doing. And taking the lessons I had learned back at Fayerweather, that if I'm blown away by it, I should go explore it just like I did in Design Your Own Homework, I decided to switch my major and become an anthropologist, which also has great ties to the importance of storytelling and listening to others, and study the school. And so freshman winter, I come back, switch my major, go into anthropology, and spent the next 3 years at college going back and forth to East Africa, learning more about the school, ultimately spending a month and a half doing ethnography and writing my thesis on this school in Tanzania, because I felt that what I thought was important was worthy of study. And it really was these lessons. I would talk to my friends in school and college that they had very different understandings of school and what was important. So it really was coming back from Fayerweather that I developed this just ingrained sense that I could be empowered in my own learning. And we studied this a lot at school, and now back at Harvard doing graduate work. And just the immense power in driving students' passion to be lifelong learners by giving them the ability to take ownership in their own learning, and to give them the ability to discover and to explore things that they are passionate about. And so ultimately, what this did, and I still have hopefully a long career ahead of me, but sort of the next step on this after college was this book that I'll read to you from a little bit later on after we've had time to discuss as a group. That in the middle of college, I took a course with Professor John McPhee. I don't know if some of you have heard of him, but a nonfiction writer, a seminal nonfiction writer. And we would sit around the table talking for 3 hours about writing and stories and all the different kinds of stories and people you can listen to. And John is famous for talking to unusual people. So we'll go talk to truck drivers or people who make birch bark canoes. And I was so inspired coming out of this class that a friend and I walked out the last day and go, we want to write books. And this was sophomore year of college. We're idealistic, we dream big. But I think coming back to what I learned at Fayerweather, I believe that because I was interested in doing this, I should go then do it. And so I left school at the end of sophomore year, went home for the summer, and started looking around for what I could write. And it was listening to the stories of the people around me in the small New Hampshire town that we had a house in that started to capture my attention. And it was this idea that those stories were just as important, and those stories helped me understand a more nuanced view of what life was like, particularly in this small town, that I decided I was actually going to go write a book. And I went back to school and I put it aside, and I came back during the summer and I picked it up again and did this for 5 years, but kept at it because I had this firm sense that what I wanted to do was important, and I would go follow it, even though I was young, even though it was an idealistic dream that, oh, I want to go write a book, but that I was going to follow it through, and I had the sense that I could. And so that's really what I want to get across about my takeaway from Fayerweather from so many years ago, graduating in 2002. But that it really was a place that taught me the importance of listening to everyone's stories, no matter if they were really famous, no matter if they were the teacher, no matter if they were the student, that they all contributed to our understanding, and that the things that I was really excited about were something that I should go dive into, and that my teachers were going to support me in doing that. So with that, I'm going to dive into the book later. We wanted to engage you in this discussion. I think Ed is going to explain what we're going to do.
Right, thanks.